Alright, so at this point the instructions tell us to install the bottom bearing. Before we install the bottom bearing, it says put on gloves and pack grease into bearing. Well, we're gonna cheat. So, using my grease gun and my workbench that is slowly being devolved, I have this tool here. This is a bearing packer. This is left over from days gone by when I used to have vehicles that had wheel bearings instead of unit bearings. And don't ask me what I'm using for grease. It's whatever was available, and I go through enough of it on the tractor because you got to grease it every 10 hours, the front end loader, that I don't worry about what type of grease anymore, because it's, well, I'm more worried about just having grease. So we got our bearing. Now the trick is you got to be careful which way you put it in, because basically the grease fills up the hole here and then it over pushes it down into the bearings. Well, if you put the bearing in upside down, it doesn't create the proper seal. So put your bearing in right side up, put your top piece on, and then turn it until your fingers fall. Sorry, let's put it where I could see it for a second. And make sure it's tight. And sometimes when you take this off, the top will come off and the shaft will stay on the top piece. But if you notice down in there, once the grease works into the center, it's going to push down through the bearings and out the bottom. So I'm going to put that in there. I'm going to try to hold it up so you can see it. I'm going to watch it. Oh, probably ought to watch the top, shouldn't I? What happened to that greasy rag? Well, that was brilliance on my part. Sorry about that. We've got grease packed into the bearing. You just unscrew it. And we're going to take as much of this grease out with us as we can. And that is well packed. I'm just going to run a little bit around the edge just to make sure that the outer mating surface has some on it. And then you'll excuse me if I don't touch the camera while I put this in. Now we will be repeating that on the top bearing, but first we're going to go ahead and, well, there's our, where is it here? There's our bottom bearing. Hard to see, but it's in there, I promise. My original goal was to use my seal driver kit, but unfortunately, because of the way this one is set up, yeah, because that's supposed to be a seal remover side, but this actually fits down in there, so it'd be too small anyways, and if I use it correctly, which should be this way, I'll crush the sleeve. So we're going to have to go old school with it. We're going to have to use a hammer and light taps. Oh, that makes it even worse. Alright. It's an old broke Phillips head. We're going to use this to drive it home. Hitch. We're just going to temporarily set this here while we go pack the other bearing. Alright. One big washer. One big nut. It says to use a 1 1/2 socket. I got 1 5/16 and 1 1/4, but no 1 1/2. So we're not going to make it to 65 foot-pounds. Now we have a cap. It says to smear a little grease around the O-ring. Well, it'd be easier if they hadn't put the O-ring on first. I'm not complaining. We're just going to do that. And at this point is the tedious part. Let me pull you down real quick so I can show you what I'm doing. Alright, so even though it's hard to see in here and we're crooked, I need to make this line up with this so that the door and this will close. And close correctly. Don't need the washers on this one. Still need the misalignment spacers. The idea is this point here, when you close it, see, that's too short. We're hard on the bump stop right here, but we're not fully closed yet. So what I got to do is pull out that bolt, loosen this up, and try again. And do that until the door closes and it's tight. So alright, before I proceed with the spare tire, I went ahead and did some wiring work. So in here, off this tail light, which is the closest, which you can probably barely see, I'll get some lights out in a minute, I basically pulled the plug out for the harness for the tail light and probed the ends to find this purple and white wire is the parking lights. I'm tapping into that because originally the license plate was on the driver's side. Well, the license plate's moving to the spare tire, so we need a license plate light, and I don't feel like fishing out the wire that's stuffed up in there and then trying to run it under the vehicle and around. I'll splice into the factory harness, run wires through, and we'll be set. We're going to be using some random white wire I found, which you probably can't see. And you might be wondering, well, what's with the green wire? The green wire was what I was going to use originally, but I found a splice on it where they hole in the middle. So I want a complete wire. I don't want a part of a wire. So we're going to go ahead and run that in. And while I was at it, I also got a short stretch of red and black. The red and black is going to be for the brake lights that are also going to be on inside the spare tire. It'll make sense eventually, trust me. Take the purple wire, just arbitrary spot, just going to clip out just a little bit extra. There's my white wire. And hold your horses because I'm about to do the cardinal sin. Yeah, you're not supposed to twist them, especially by hand. So the blue is a larger gauge. It's still not fitting. Run away! Run away! Cut that down just a hair. Oops, wrong one. Let's go to blue. There, neither one of them are popping out. Let's get this straightened out a little. There we go. Now we're going to make sure it doesn't leak. And we're going to let that cool before we do anything else. No, sort of. What we do have to do, don't need that end on there anymore. I'm going to run this through the factory grommet. What do you know? I had electrical tape on the tape shelf. We're just going to stick these together. We're going to stick these together. Plug this back in and fish it all back down into this hole. And slide the grommet in. There. And while we're here, we got a random wire that's broke off. We're going to go ahead and fix that too. This one's going to be a bugger. What did I do with my diagonals? There they are. Oh well. Now we're going to find where this is routing. Alright. Grab a zip tie, so we can't get electrical tape around it. Grab another zip tie, stick it in behind. Guess we could get it in there. We're not going to cuss that long at it though. We're just going to zip it and keep moving. This end though, hey, come down here. They taped the other end to keep it from moving. Okay.
Yeah, make all the demons quiet. Yeah, we were built to thrive. Yeah, I think that we've all had enough. What keeps you up at night? Yeah, make all the demons quiet. Yeah, we were built to thrive. Yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Oh yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling it wrong. You got me like, oh yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Generation fueled by creation. We live lives on a small screen nation. We control the airwaves, no negotiation. I refuse to think we need saving. Something good will come from creation. And when we think that the world is too anxious, we'll adapt, evolve, survive, and save it. What keeps you up at night? Yeah, make all the demons quiet. Yeah, we will.
Ooh, that was close. Almost dropped the washer. All I did was drill out the hole, because this is important on a CB mount. So if you notice here, there's like white Teflon in there. You then have this go over it, so this isolates the center conductor. If you don't have this on here, or the center conductor contacts metal, it's going to short out and not transmit correctly. Out there, center. Double around. This is important on a Jeep. An antenna spring. You need an antenna. Yeah, it's a little long. I went ahead and mounted the spare tire bracket, I guess you'd say. Didn't film it because there was a lot of back and forth. Had to measure height to the center of the wheel and whatnot, and then measure back spacing. So I got all that measured, and I'm actually too far out. So basically this gap is greater than my back spacing. It's unfortunate, but oh well. So we got it all the way in, but this is just loosely in here. I haven't tightened the bolts down yet, because we got to make a mount for license plate and third brake light. What do you mean I got to make a mount? Why don't we just mount it on the outside? It's going to stick it like up here and get in the way of the antenna and all that stuff. So what I did was I found this lovely thing at the local Tractor Supply, and I found a rod that fits down inside it. Plus it's got little holes drilled through it. So we're going to use a hitch pin to pin our plate on. It'll make sense in a little bit. First thing I got to do some grinding and pull this spare tire mount off, just the outer bracket. And actually what I'm going to do before I do that, we got a kit here, lug nuts and bolts, because this is a multi-bolt pattern. So we're going to go ahead and install this on there. To install it so that I know I'm getting the right one, I did take measurements, but I just set the bracket inside the wheel, and then I'm just lining up the three. There's several ways to do this. I'm going to use the force method. Actually, I'm going to use two methods just to show you two different ways. So, force method. Just to make sure that you have a more solid surface. So, we're going to go to the other method. You could, in theory, do this with a C-clamp as well. But, since I have this fancy little gadget right here, let's see how this works. I think we got to come up with it. There we go. Just take this, drop it in there. Make sure that is closed. There we go. The reason that stud didn't line up well is because, well, I put it in there crooked when I was beating the hell out of it. So, let's try something else. Let's try something stupid first. Let's try to straighten this lug nut out. See, wasn't that easy? Alright, this one's a little bit more challenging because there's a welding booger right there. I don't know if you can see it or not. So before we do that, get that welding booger off. I think it's off. Bingo. B-I-N-G-O, B-I. Yeah, if I had an arbor press, that'd probably be nice too. But since I don't, well, actually. Oh, I cut that a little too long. Now, if I did this correctly, that's what's going to hold the license plate in. I'm going to weld this on, and then to get it out, you just pull this pin, and you'll be able to pull the whole license plate right out. That simple. It will be shorter and more bracketry up here, but we'll get to that. Hindsight being 2020, I probably shouldn't have put these on before I ground this off. My Dremel tool's louder than my grinder. Alright, it's been about a half hour. I busied myself with taking care of some other stuff on the Jeep that we'll come back to in a minute here. That quick, easy stuff that I didn't think I'd cover. But, here we are. We're all welded up. I know, not the prettiest, but I'm using a 115 welder on it, so I don't think it's terribly horrendous though. Next, we're going to tape this up. We're going to tape up the threads on the lugs, and we're going to shoot some paint at it because, well, we don't want to leave bare metal. I'm also going to spray some paint at the back too where I burned through. But anyhow, let me go ahead and take care of this and we'll be back in a minute. While we wait for the paint to dry, hitched up our CB antenna before. Well, I routed the lines up through and hitched everything up under the dash. What we're actually installing is a Cobra 75WX. So this has your transmitter receiver box, and then in place of a regular CB, it has a control mic. So this is what we're going to be using. Originally, it had a 75WX ST in there, so we actually left the box in there because it was actually installed correctly. So we basically just got to hitch this up and plug in the wires. So let's go hitch this up. So this is the hard part. Let's see what we got. Where's the tab? Tab's there. There it is. Plug it in, screw it together. And they've already got the mount here for it. There, that part's done. Oops. Well, I'm talking about CBs. One thing with CB coax, the lines that go to the antenna, don't ever put a curly Q in it. If you have more wire than you need, leave it semi-loose. Do not coil it up and zip tie it, because basically you're turning it into an inductor at that point. It's going to mess up your RF all over the place, or your radio frequency, your gains and whatnot are going to be terrible. On top of that, yes, people still use CBs. Off-road community, pretty big. Trucker community, very big. Now, I was at least smart enough when I was disconnecting all the crap that he had hitched up to the battery. I kept the original wiring for the CB. Hopefully it's long enough. It's going to be long enough. Alright, so we need to go into our tackle box and find some ends for that. Let's see if, by some odd happenstance, this one works. Alright, this one fits, so we're going to try this again. I'm going to grab it. We're going to grab the plastic. There we go. We're going to throw that out. I'm going to start with fresh wire because I don't like what they've done here. I'm going to go, inch or two. It's a little oversized, but it will work. Now with this, I don't know if you can see, right there on this side, there's a splice. When you're crimping with this style, you want to make sure that the dimple goes opposite of the splice. So our splice is facing towards you. We're going to pick one where the dimple is on the opposite side, and then we're going to make sure she's crushed good. So put the dimple on the back side and you crush the front side. We're going to slide this up as far as we can. Yes, I have a heat gun. It'd just take too dang long to get it out. I'm being lazy. You just want to heat it up to make sure everything is sealed. There we go. Put that in there. We can grab our bolt. We're going to have to loosen up that other one. Didn't want to loosen that one up, but I guess we got to. All right, 12 millimeter. Run this underneath. We're going to flip it over right to the side. Put that on there. And crank it down. Let's see if it turns on. See if we can figure out how to turn it on. Awesome. Alright, we're on 19. We're going to leave it on 19. We're just going to... Yep. Alright, it turns on. Put that back. And if you're wondering why we're not testing it, well, we're inside a metal building with foil wrapped insulation. We're in a giant Faraday cage. If I try to turn it on right now, it's just going to squawk, squeal, and make all kinds of racket. I don't think that was the right one, was it? It'll work though. So I got this specific type because it's the same type that's on this Jeep at present. It does have aftermarket rims. So we actually needed this special tool, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, perfect. Alright, well sis, you've got lug nuts for days now, so go ahead and lose a couple if you must. Because we only need 1, 2, and 3. And this is why we needed them. First off, this is your standard lug nut. Well, you put the tool on there, you gotta have a big hole. Well, this one, if you look at side by side, is a little bit longer. On top of that, this tool is much narrower. So in theory, yep, we're not going to have any interference issues with this. Alright, so I got digging around behind the shed and I found this piece. This is a leftover bracket from the back of the tractor. Would have been the back. This would have been the back, where you hitch the 3-point up and you have the, actually you put the third link catcher in this piece and then you mount the lights on it. Well, it just so happens that this looks like about the right size. So we're going to go ahead and cut this up to utilize to make our bracket. So we're going to start with a rough estimate of where we want to go with it, because we don't need that much of it. There. Let's weld her up. Alright, run low on battery, run low on memory, so hopefully I get this done. The bracket is drying, but now we need to turn our attentions to the wiring. So for a connector, I went through a couple different thought processes, and I settled on a trailer wiring. Why trailer wiring? Because they're watertight-ish connectors. They give me the 3 wires I need plus 2 extras. Yeah. So why not use it? Actually, use it backwards, it'll work even easier, because then I can run 2 lights off 2 separate wires on this. So it works out for my benefit anyways. That's where we're going. Almost looks like it. Alright, I want to apologize. Last night, after the camera got a little bit shoddy, I went ahead and finished up everything. I ran out of memory stick, ran out of batteries, ran out of patience, so I just went ahead and finished up the license plate bracket. I did check the light works fine. The one problem, I need to get a bigger hitch pin because, well, it's a little bit small. But it holds the plate on. It has DOT approved 3rd brake lights, so it's got additional brake lights, and the license plate is lit up. So by law, it fits everything that it's supposed to. I just need to get a better pin that fits in the hole tighter so it's not rocking back and forth. Easy enough to do. In the event that my sister has to change out the spare tire, or more specifically, AAA has to change out the spare tire, because I'm not pulling this son of a gun down again. Not going to happen. All I have to do, if you notice here, right here is the wiring harness. I left that dangling like that so that you can see it, so that when it's time, all you do is disconnect the trailer wiring that's there, plug in the, or take the pin out, and this whole thing comes off as one assembly with the wiring. Then you just tuck the old wiring in and pull the spare tire off, like you would normally a spare tire. So this fills all the requirements for DOT. It'll pass inspection this way. That's why I did it. Other than that, we were going to get into the top. Unfortunately, the top that my sister got didn't come with all the pieces. Came with all the pieces for the package that she ordered, but the kit requires some additional pieces that you have to order separate from the kit she ordered. So at some point we'll put a new top on this. She's got new upper doors as well, but for now she's gonna go wheeling with it with the with this top on. There will be probably some future videos coming down the line on this project. There's a couple little things that we need to change and do, but that's neither here nor there. And if you're wondering why it's called Project Cheap Jeep, this is a 2010 Wrangler Rubicon 2-door set up on 37s and under 50,000 miles, including everything we've done and everything that was done prior and the vehicle itself when we purchased it. Probably don't have 10,000 invested in it, which I know is not necessarily cheap, but considering I've seen similar vehicles going for $40,000 that have more mileage, this is cheap in comparison. You can easily spend 10 grand just on a vehicle before you even think about making it off-road worthy. So, hence, cheap Jeep. But I digress, and I'm going to shut up now. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye.